What is e-historian? Oh, 17 minutes, boys. Cozy up. Get in. Settle in. Cozy up. The story of Kony2012. Uh-oh.
Kony2012 is the story of a man, Jason Russell,
Who?
and his relentless quest to stop Ugandan warlord, Joseph Kony.
Oh.
Let's begin where the action started.
I actually remember
On March
that.
5th, 2012, a charity called Invisible Children published a high-production video called Kony2012.
Uh-huh.
It was an awareness campaign seeking to mobilize action to capture or kill Ugandan warlord Joseph Kony.
And the goal of the story was to make
This is
Kony
so old, yeah.
famous. 30 minutes long, it really tried to pull at your heartstrings.
Did
At
it?
the end of my life, I want to say that the world we've left behind is one that Gavin can be proud of. A place that doesn't allow Joseph Konys and child soldiers.
And little Gavin would have been proud, because it took off like no video on YouTube ever had.
We wanted 500,000 views in the whole year of 2012. We got 500,000 views in the first 3 hours.
It received 100 million views in the first 6 days, 1.4 million likes. Click that link in the description below. They clicked it so hard the website went down, and their email was so inundated that the service provider assumed it was an attack and temporarily pulled the plug.
Oh no.
The Times named it the most viral video ever. It raised the charity over $20 million.
Hold up.
People really went fucking bananas for this video
What?
and those Ugandan kids. 4 million hashtags. People
$20
changed their
million.
Facebook profiles, so you knew it was a big
Mark
deal.
Zuckerberg.
A fan-made mobile game. Are you
Yikes.
woke about Joseph Kony? Yeah, but are you woke enough to get a tattoo? People were up for pretty much anything to stop Kony,
Imagine
as long
having
as it
that
didn't
tattoo
involve
in
any practical
2020.
action. One like equals one saved child.
Does it though?
But who is Joseph Kony and what's all the fuss?
I don't
Well,
know
he's
that
the
it
leader
does,
of the Lord's
though.
Resistance Army,
People
LRA.
always say that.
My God, you're greasy.
And he really is one of the most evil people living today.
He is really
Imagine the worst
greasy.
crime you can think of committing, and he'll have done it thousands of times over.
Takes children, makes them kill their parents and eat their parents.
The surviving girls would be kept as sex slaves, and the boys conscripted into the LRA as child soldiers.
I know, it's kind of a bummer.
It's all part of a civil conflict that's been going on
Why
for
would
30
he put that there? Why would he do that? Why would he put?
years.
Why would that
We'll
be
get
there?
into the
That
details
clip.
later, but for now, consider this our one-dimensional bad guy. And here's our protagonist, Jason Russell, the figurehead of Kony2012 and Invisible Children.
Yes, it is. Thank you
He's
for
a
the tier
devout
1.
Christian, stereotypically Californian,
I do consider myself
True.
a refined valley dude.
but he has a bad boy side too.
Uh-oh.
So it all starts in 2003 when, as a naive and aspiring filmmaker, he goes to Uganda with 2 friends in search of a story. While driving
Yikes.
through a rural village,
A car
On
was
Call of
shot
Duty?
in front of us by a rebel army who was led by a guy named Joseph Kony.
And
they
they
drive
didn't
to a
kill
city
you?
for safety and find this. Turns out it's part of a nightly routine. Kids live in the villages, but commute to the
Oh.
city to sleep there to avoid being
They
kidnapped
just let you
in
film
midnight
all
raids
this
by
and
the
didn't kill
LRA.
you.
Thousands and thousands
Seems
of
legit.
kids
Okay.
without an adult in sight.
Jason had found his story. And a cause. It must have made a real impression on him, because for the next 10 years he dedicated himself, almost exclusively, to trying to improve things in Uganda and stop
Damn.
Kony. Kony2012 was the culmination,
for you,
but in the
I
preceding
think.
years he tried a bunch of other schemes. This,
The bracelet campaign.
this,
White's daily broadcast about where the LRA is and where they're active.
and this.
Do what we always do. Dance.
Oh, yikes.
This is all real.
Oh, yikes.
We're on a mission, put Uganda deep inside your mind.
But, okay, listen, they're making fun of it now, but this was actually the meta in 2012. If you had a dance in a group and the mob dances, like your video was going viral and your message was getting heard. This was meta. Yes, it was. If you're saying no, you're high, or you were high throughout 2012. However, this...
We gotta shake it up and break it up, let the war
This is too parody,
Naturally,
memeable
questions have been
for
raised
something
about
so
his sexual
serious, though.
orientation.
All these other rumors too that you were gay.
Yeah, I've heard those rumors.
So are
My parents
they.
started a large children's theater organization, so I am
Theatrical.
theatrical.
But are
Yeah,
you
okay,
gay
that
or
makes
not?
sense. Straight men are allowed to enjoy musicals. It's current year.
Of course.
Back to Kony2012. So the video
Zoni,
lays
thank
out
you
a
for the tier
plan
1.
called Cover the Night. Here's what you do. Pay $30 for your super special Kony action kit. Whoa, that's nice. In the kit you'll find 5 items. Button, bracelet, stickers, shirt, and these posters. Then, on April 20th, in the dead of night, go out and vandalize your town with awareness.
Wake up to hundreds of thousands of posters demanding justice on every corner.
It was going to be amazing. Everyone was on board. The countdown to April 20th had begun.
420,
and all Jason
huh?
and Co had to do
On
was keep the
420?
momentum going
Interesting.
and not fuck it up.
Very interesting. I did this? Yikes.
To move the world to action.
But this movie is not without critics.
Critics say the film manipulates the facts.
Simplifying the story.
Oversimplifying a wildly complex issue.
message is too late.
Joseph Kony and his forces have been significantly reduced.
Pro-war activism.
Utterly naive to
By next week, this will be a passing fad.
These white Westerners sort of getting on a bandwagon, and actually they haven't got a clue what they're talking about.
It's a lot of
A
young
day
people,
or two
that's
later,
why.
the
There's all the
heady
Facebook
excitement
kids.
gave way to more down-to-earth analysis. Media commentators started making scathing critiques of the video, and testimony from Uganda wasn't entirely positive either.
It's unfortunate that we can have people who are merchandising, but using people's problems.
Then it got really serious. Teenage girls started weighing in.
Kony, so I asked my mom, and my mom laughs and goes, "He died like 5 years ago."
This is wrong, by the way, but it was seen by 4 million people. From a source of "my mum said it, so it must be true."
My mom said
The
like
term
5 years
slacktivism
ago.
started cropping up more and more. Legitimate questions were asked. How will the money donated be spent?
That Invisible Children would send would have to go to the Ugandan military.
Why did you put your son in the film?
You know, why would you put your son in the film? You know, why did you put yourself in the film? It was questions about our sincerity.
Why are they saying Kony is in Uganda when he's actually in the Central African Republic?
Uh-oh.
Invisible Children wasn't popular among other charities either. They were hogging the limelight. And they released Kony2012 just 2 days before International Women's Day, a critical fundraising time for some. Even the Ugandan Prime Minister took a few jabs.
We do not need a sleek video on YouTube for us to take notice.
Once people started feeling misled, they turned against the organization and squared the blame on one person.
After
The
they
pressure
donated $20 million
building.
to him?
Online backlash and a hectic schedule was starting to take a toll.
My phone was getting 10 text messages every second. It was just...
Millions of supporters on one side, millions of critics on the other.
On and on and on.
Make Kony famous? Well, it made Jason famous too. And the pressure kept increasing.
Damn.
He was flying all over the country to spread his message,
Took the red eye to New
Why?
York, landed at 5 in the morning.
working around the clock.
On the Today Show, People Magazine, Reuters. By day 3, I was in LA doing interview after interview after interview.
17 interviews in 48 hours. Wow. So
He was sleeping less and becoming more erratic.
I hate when people like boast their stats like that, you know? They're like, yeah, I did 17 interviews in
Adept.
48 hours.
I
Yeah,
am
but
exactly
like
4
with
months clean
who
of
and about
self-harm.
what and
I
like
love
who
to watch
cares?
your content to help cheer me up and take my mind away from my urges.
Not being able to stop my racing
Smile.
mind.
Criticism
Thank you,
from
Andrew,
every
for the
direction.
15. I'm happy to hear that you're doing
You're
better, and you know
You're
what?
terrible. And Kony's dead.
I hope
They
that you
started
find
saying the whole project was for his
comfort
ego,
and happiness from
or
within,
based on greed,
because that's what
and
it's
not
gonna
just
matter.
criticism,
you.
responsibility. How are you going to stop children from being murdered, Jason? You
True.
promised a solution, Jason. When are you going to deliver, Kony?
At the end of that day, my mind was exhausted.
To release the pressure, he and his family tried to take a couple of days off by going to Palm Springs.
I've been there.
But people recognized him there too. So they hid away in their hotel room with the curtains closed.
Yikes.
Jason was starting to crack.
That's not a
Paranoia,
vacation.
delusions of grandeur. He went with his family to see the Lorax, and he thought the film was speaking to him directly. Voices in Jason's head told him that he needed to get to New York in the next 12 hours or Kony would win, whatever that meant. Then, he stripped off all of his clothes and ran out.
Oh my
into
gosh,
the
I
street.
forgot about this.
I was on a street in San Diego, totally naked and crazy out of my mind. Someone driving by in a car took a video on their phone, and they sold it to TMZ for $30,000. And then my naked and crazy mess went viral as well.
Some have said that he was jacking it
30K?
and that he was on drugs. Neither is
where's
true.
my dash
It's just a
cam?
very distressed man having a mental episode.
Were you also masturbating? Did I hear that too?
No one who was there ever said that that was happening. I mean, I'm naked, so it's not a far extension of, imagination.
He was taken to the hospital, not jail.
Police say when they showed up, they didn't see any of that and was taken to a local medical facility that he was not arrested, though.
And then he thought the staff were trying to kill him.
Just one of those things where I'm like, I don't believe what you're saying. You're trying to kill me.
He ran around in his underwear, kicking in doors until eventually he was subdued and sedated.
You come back to yourself as you know yourself.
Why is Oprah interviewing this nut job?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Why?
2 weeks, whoa.
Yeah.
Later on, one Sharona Reed tried to sue Mr. Russell for the trauma of having to see him do naked calisthenics. As far as I can tell, though, that lawsuit went nowhere.
Can you think of anything else that's worse than running around naked going like this on TMZ?
Well, maybe one thing. While all of this was happening, the countdown to the day of action was still ticking. Thousands of kits had been sold. Get ready for an awareness campaign so effective you'll think you're living in Uganda. The kids rolled out into the street. Selfie sticks and posters ready.
They really did.
Let's do it. Let's save those kids. We're changing the world. Oh, God, yes. But it wasn't all well intended. Some took it as a chance to vandalize their neighborhood with impunity.
Chat in YouTube comments, please, please. If you've ever watched a propaganda video and you suddenly wanted to just go out and walk the streets and protest and hang up posters and spray paint and vandalize your own city and your own town, can you just explain to me why in one message in comment in chat or on YouTube comments? Because I've just never understood. I don't get it. Like, I think some political protests make sense, but
and
some of it it's like look, they're vandalizing their damn city.
The turnout was abysmal.
I don't know. I think there's a good way.
Real attendance?
To change things.
Sydney,
not
18,000 people registered.
Like,
Real attendance?
I think that there's different action to be taken than
4,800 registered. Real attendance? 0. Instead, they cancelled their event and put up a post calling Invisible Children a fraud organization. This is what 4 million Kony hashtags gets you. Now, I bet you want to know where
a lot of people don't know politics
Jason
work anymore and want to join these giant
now.
synthetic mass
Before
movements because they don't understand.
Quick tangents.
That must be what people that just don't. I don't know.
In the Kony 2012 video, you'll see this guy, Louis Marino Ocampo, Chief Prosecutor for the International Criminal Court.
True. It probably is only like 2% that are willing to do that. True.
Well, in 2017, a bunch of Louis' emails were leaked, and they detailed one hell of a caper to catch Kony and bring him to justice. I'm not making any of the following up, right? Here's the plan. Lure Kony out of the jungle with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie as bait.
Straight from a Hollywood movie, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt attempting to arrest an African warlord.
So it would go, the A-list couple would fly to the edge of the jungle where Kony is hiding and call him up with an invitation to dinner. Kony.
He knows Mr. and Mrs. Smith was just a movie, right? But actually, this did work for like El Chapo or something, or who was it? Who were the actors that were hanging out with like El Chapo?
He'd show up,
Sean
presumably
Penn.
bottle
Sean
of wine
Penn.
in hand and ready to mingle. Then, imagine his shock. It was a trap all along. Special forces would pop out from behind the salad bar and get their guy.
One idea appears to have been for Angelina Jolie to lure him to a private dinner where he would be arrested.
It was a foolproof plan, but unfortunately, it was never realized. Once Miss Jolie stopped responding to Louis' weird emails, Ocampo approached George Clooney for use of his spy satellite.
The chief prosecutor had also attempted to recruit George Clooney in a plot to fly spy satellites over Libya.
Yes, that's correct. George Clooney partnered with a satellite company to spy on al-Bashir of Sudan. Okie doke. Anyway, he responded that the satellite wasn't powerful enough. So then Ocampo moved on to his backup date, Sean Penn, whom he invited to the UN security meeting in South Sudan.
No way! Sean Penn's been doing this for years!
And there were some people having fun with Kony2012 as well. Turns out Kony looks a lot like Carl Weathers in the movie Predator. So an idea was formed. Take this screenshot from Predator, post it on Facebook and say how great he is without mentioning the name. Then wait for some slacktivists to immediately assume it's Joseph Kony. Then you call them racist. It was good for a few minutes of fun. Then they tried it on the official meetup pages. Promptly deleted. And we're back. So get a load of this total car crash, dumpster fire, shitstorm, diaper hurricane, am I right, guys? Well, no. Despite all the mishaps and poor turnout, Kony2012 was a massive success.
True.
The goal was to make an obscure warlord in rural Uganda a household name. And they succeeded. A reach in the hundreds of millions on a budget of about $1.5 million. Any marketing agency would kill for that. In fact, 7 years later, you probably clicked on this video because you have some vague notion of Kony and that video already. Now, let me give you a very brief rundown.
I forgot that this even happened.
Then let's get out of here. Invisible Children. Outside of long-term and small-scale projects, they've largely ceased operations. Joseph Kony. He's still out there, but his army is shrinking and splintering.
He ain't dead yet?
He is effectively in hibernation. And Jason Russell. He's no longer with Invisible Children. He's also been breakdown free since 2012, but he's still doing the activism thing.
Yikes.
Look, I've had to gloss over so many details in this video, and there are so many more questions to be answered, but I don't want this video to be an hour long or to take 2 months more to make.
True.
So I'm going to round this one off with a Q&A on the second channel. What about that $20 million they raised?
Yes.
Why didn't the US military or the Ugandan military ever just bomb the shit out of Kony? What did Kony have to say about the video? All of these questions, and a ton more, plus any questions you may have of your own. Uganda want to see it. Boo.
Good one. I actually completely forgot that Kony happened, but I remember when it was happening, it just seemed like a big, weird, like, social media, like, trend from people in my community. Like people in my city and stuff, like, because we were young. I mean, in 2012, like, or whenever, we were still in high school, like, barely getting out of high school, maybe. And it was like it was like the boobies bracelets, you know, and they're like, you got a Kony bracelet? Yeah, I got a Kony bracelet. Oh yeah, I'm wearing the Kony shirt. Ooh. Like, that was literally as far as it went out here. So to me, it was like a big, like, just a weird trend that everyone was doing. And I actually completely forgot it existed.